Thank you, Mr. Moderator and Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Dennis Johnson. Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Indar Weir, Member of Parliament, other esteemed panelists, Mr. Patrick Bethel and Mr. Carol Simpson. We also have our jury, which we'll explain a little bit later. One of the things that we have been doing at BAPE is that in these seminars, sessions, we've been appointing a jury along the lines of members of the press, members of the public, ladies and gentlemen. Good night to everyone. It really gives us great pleasure at BAPE to be hosting this event tonight. It is actually the second event we've had at this venue recently. Since last year, we held a similar town hall session where the topic was potholes and what we need to do about them. Since that, BAPE has subsequently explored such issues as disaster preparedness, building codes, the issue of sick building syndrome, alternative energy, sewage management, and a number of other pressing areas of concern in Barbados. But tonight, we turn to the area of agriculture. Not because it is topical, but actually because it is an area of such pressing importance to our future success as a country. Now, as the moderator hinted, we have been asked at BAPE to explain why an engineering organization seems to be so vocal about such a wide variety of national issues. So I would like to take a minute to explain our position on this approach. There are many persons, many engineers themselves included, who seem to think that engineering is about building complex infrastructure, designing and repairing complicated projects while using fancy mathematics. The truth of the matter is that engineers have always been those persons in society who have been specially talented, trained, and deployed to solve the insolvable problems of that society and to create the impossible realities needed for the benefit of that society. It just so happens that in the last 100 years or so, many of those impossible realities and unsolvable problems happen to be in the area of technology, infrastructure, and complex design. So this is what everyone tends to see engineering to be. In fact, the word engineering comes from a French word related to the military, because in the days when the critical things in a society was to survive military battles, what engineers did was to build military defenses and military weapons. When disease threatened to destroy the world, engineers built sewer systems and sanitary water systems. Engineers do the difficult jobs that are needed to make a society work. The reality of the last 100 years that define the engineers that we take for granted has been changing drastically. The challenges of the present, and growingly so of the future, will be related much more so to complex human behavioral issues than simple technology issues. If you followed what happened with technology, the cell phone, for example, something that did not exist just a few years ago. Now everyone has not a cell phone, but a smartphone, which is actually a phenomenally complex piece of technology that I'm willing to bet very few people in this room have any idea how it works. But it works flawlessly, simply, cheaply, and consistently because of engineers. So we all now have access to knowledge, to technology, to materials, more so than in any other time in history. But the new problems that have been evolving in society have become even more complex. And often, these problems are a result of the extremely sophisticated technology that societies have built up for themselves over the last decades. So I'm saying to you that the engineers of the future will therefore be those persons who must seek to resolve these kind of complex issues, and hopefully with the same kind of success that engineers of my era saw in their work with technology and mathematics and complex design, and as typified by the cell phone and the smartphone. So essentially, what BAPE is seeking to do is to bring the approach, the skills, the resources that created this phenomenal technological world that we now know and take for granted. We want to bring those kind of results to bear on the challenges, the difficult, mortal, dangerous challenges facing us now, and that will only become more complex in the future. Now, there are not many such challenges that are bigger, in our humble opinion, than the serious ones facing agriculture in Barbados as we speak. And to speak a little bit about agriculture, if supply and demand were the critical factors in the success of a business operation, then we put it to you that agriculture should be the world's most flourishing enterprise. Now, most of us, all of us, can choose not to travel and impact tourism. We can choose not to buy luxury items and impact manufacturing. We can choose not to fight expensive wars. I don't know if you know the money that is spent on military weapons and on the military. We can choose not to do that and save billions and billions of dollars and use it for development. But the 7.7 billion people that currently inhabit this earth have to eat. They cannot choose not to eat, otherwise they die. What we have is a perfect market that will continue to perpetuate itself as long as those 7.7 billion people continue to live. In addition to this, the amazingly complex science that makes agriculture work, the fact that plants grow, that fruits are produced, that vegetables grow, and that they produce exactly the kind of produce that match the demands of the dietary requirements of human beings, has been pre-programmed by Mother Nature. This is not something that the Americans have technology that the Barbadians don't have. A plant grows the same way in Barbados as it grows in the most advanced country in the world. A fruit grows in Barbados with the same technology that grows in the US or Europe or Canada or Africa. The technology has been standardized by Mother Nature. So we have perfect science that is perfectly shared across the world. The other thing that I find really interesting is that Barbados enjoys a climate, a geographical location, topography, a social construct, biology, geology, that has been the envy of the world for centuries. We enjoy a flat, rolling landscape that is easily accessible. It is generally safe from many of the natural hazards that terrorize most of the other world, including the developed world. I've been to places in Switzerland where they grow grapes for wine and that sort of thing on sheer mountain cliffs. And then when the winter comes, they're in serious trouble. We live in a year-round paradise when it comes to the weather and to opportunities to do agriculture. We don't even have snakes and other dangerous pests to impede the practice of agriculture. We have a perfect environment. In fact, I was trying to ask someone to suggest to me in what way the Garden of Eden could have been much better blessed than Barbados has been when it comes to agriculture. In fact, at one time, the country enjoyed outstanding success with sugar, although this was to the benefit of our colonial masters. And indeed, we were a global player in the field of agriculture through sugar. As recently as 50 years ago, we were at the forefront of global research in the sugarcane industry. We have a history of success. But something seems to have gone wrong. And there are obviously a number of factors in the collapse that we have seen. These factors include sociological, historical, market competition, competition for land use from other activities. But I want to put it to you that the biggest factor by far has to be our weak management responses over the period that have failed to successfully address the many and varied challenges that have been faced by the industry. So I admit, there have been challenges, there have been serious challenges, but the reality of this world is that all major industries routinely are confronted with serious challenges to their viability. This is the competitive nature of all modern business. This has been made even more critical by modern technology again, that increasingly makes our world into a small global village, a little place. A place where international powerhouses are your next door neighbor, no matter how small the business you operate. Every corner shop now has to compete with Amazon.com, with eBay. Here's what this means. As an absolute basic requirement for any kind of serious level of success and even survival, there is therefore a vital need to make sure that we assign our best available, trained, and prepared talents to guide the management and direction of any operation that we want to see continue as a success. This is a basic minimum. Even this will not guarantee success. I can give you a litany of outstanding international operations run by some of the best talents in the world, now bankrupt, because the competitors outdid them, or tricked them, or misled them, or the hazards are there. But without the absolute best leadership and the best decision-making, you are almost guaranteed today. Any jurisdiction, I put it to you then, where there is anything less than a serious professional approach to the preparation, selection, and appointment of management and leadership, should fully expect today to go into serious decline and into major bankruptcy in the modern world in which we live, because that is the nature of the world. So therefore, the era of appointments based on nepotism, on friendship, on school ties, even if it is Combermere School, on political allegiance, and even on tenure, are long gone if you want to see any level of success. It just remains now, I have to tell you, for the remnants of that kind of philosophy to subject themselves to the inevitable bankruptcy and decline that will overtake them. Is this what we are seeing here? In Barbados, we have invested heavily in education over the past 70 years. Many a professional class has been created, and much ado has been made about our national potential to succeed. And we do have the national potential to succeed. I can tell you that. However, the actual results that we have seen on the ground have been less than impressive in many ways, not just in agriculture. While we have been able to leverage our potentialities and natural assets with significant loans and investments, we have not been able to see the needed productive elements in quality success at the international level, even enough to cover these loan repayments and to pay dividends on the investments that we've encouraged from our investors. I have some questions. Who are the professionals in agriculture currently driving the quality trust that is needed in Barbados so that we can continue to be successful in the face of the international giants like the people who do Roundup, the big agrochemical companies? Where are we? Where is our trust? Where is the leadership? Where is the professionalism that is actually going to provide that edge to take? Let me tell you something about professionalism. I said the corner shop is threatened by Amazon. But do you know that the corner shop also has the opportunity to sell to markets just like Amazon, with the right leadership, the right vision, the right creativity? So it is a threat if you don't know what you're doing. But if you have the right talents in place and the right leadership and you make the right decisions, Amazon may be threatened, even from little Barbados, because of the same technology that threatens us. This is the kind of world in which we live. Nothing I suggest to you. And the other question I have is, where are the professional engineers who are bringing new technologies on board in agriculture? Let me compare this just briefly with what happened in telecommunications. As I said, just a few years ago, nobody knew what a cell phone was. I remember the days when, people, if you had one of those phones in your car with a big long wire running from the roof and a big thing in the trunk, everybody was impressed. That was just a few years ago. But because of the significant changes that have been driven by engineers and technologists in the telecoms-based field, the revolutionary changes that we've gone through, we live in a different world just 10, 15, 20 years down the way. Where is the equivalent in agriculture? Where can I walk into a sugar factory and see modern, futuristic technology like you can see at Cable and Wireless and at Digicel? Where is that? Who's driving it? Nothing demonstrates our decline better than does agriculture, particularly sugar and rum production. So against the background that I've drawn out, the questions that we want to explore from BAPE's perspective are four basic questions. What are the structural weaknesses that see us in the position that we now have? What are the future threats that are likely to be even more dire if we continue along the path that we're on? The really critical question that if we can get the answer to this, it will make all the difference. Are there any opportunities for a diametrical reversal in agriculture's fortune in Barbados? Are there any opportunities for a reversal? We need to get answers to that. And the real question that we put on the table is, does technology offer such an opportunity? BAPE look forward to tonight's contributions. We also look forward to the verdict to be arrived at by our jury. It is not going to be an easy job, but what we are asking them to do is to distill all the contributions. We became tired of going to sessions and seminars and workshops. And then you have an interesting, useful bunch of contributions. And then when the next workshop comes up 2 weeks later, you go over the same thing again because no decisions were taken. We are asking the jury to listen to the contributions, listen to the experts, and make some decisions that will then become the basis for our next presentation and our next step forward. Everybody may not agree, but when you go to court and the jury makes a decision, you may not necessarily agree either. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for choosing to help us tonight. Thanks to the panelists, to the audience. We look forward to some really good discussions. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Colonel.